might be actually my favorite weekend of the year now that I think about it. Masters weekend's always right up there because you're kind of getting into a good period of time. But I got to tell you, this CFL triple header that's planned for Saturday is going to be amazing. I got my Chiefs raising a banner on Thursday night, and then the first full Sunday of NFL action. I mean,
that is a great weekend, buddy. That's a great weekend.
The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout, and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey! Saturday mornings at noon, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Two guys and a goalie.
I think we're going to see some big things from Evander Kane this year.
You think so? Like if he stays healthy, like 40 goals or something?
He's used to Edmonton now. He's solidified, I think, his place in the dressing room. I think there's a comfort factor that takes a little bit of time.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Oil Stream.
Last summer on the Oil Stream, you and I discussed the possibility of Gagner coming back here on a PTO. He signed with Winnipeg and got an actual contract.
Anytime you can have Sam Gagner involved in your organization in any way, it's a major positive for you.
They love him.
The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Two guys and a goalie.
I think we're going to see some big things from Evander Kane this year.
You think so? Like if he stays healthy, like 40 goals or something?
He's used to Edmonton now. He's solidified, I think, his place in the dressing room. I think there's a comfort factor that takes a little bit of time.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
try this again. It is Tuesday, September 19th. Welcome to the EST Hangout. Matawanak, Tom Gazzola with you here as we got the mics actually working.
Yeah.
As well as we got Dhariwal from CBC and Doug McLean, Golden Bears Pandas analyst, along with the Stingers. Boys, welcome to the EST Hangout.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome to be here.
That's great. How are you guys doing today?
You know what? Not bad.
You know what's incredible? You're not wearing shorts, but
I am
Min is.
And I actually thought about it because you've been wearing shorts every time I'm like, oh, maybe it's like really warm in the studio. I don't
This
know.
is a lake safe zone.
Okay.
It's actually pretty cold in this building. I always run really cold too, and the boys like it a little cooler. And my office, like, I don't know, it gets extra cold.
It does.
Actually,
there's
I'm
no
surprised
sun
I've been doing the shorts for as long as I did. But I was telling Tommy before we started here, I left my car yesterday and it was cold out. And that to me was like, okay, now it's time to get into the pants. Now is the time to get ready because it falls here.
No show socks,
No
though.
socks. Huh?
Same.
Well, there's socks, just no shirts.
We're
teetering.
Once the snow starts coming, I'll start wearing my socks.
Yeah, we're teetering.
I have a good sock game, usually. I
respect
love buying socks.
You've got to look at the extended forecast. I mean, this is Edmonton, right?
It changes.
You might even need to, throw some pants in the bag for later on.
Do you have pants in the bag? I know we have the
I don't
Edmonton golf
today.
tournament,
Yeah,
Oilers golf
not
tournament
today.
today.
I think today we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Although it looks like high of 16, 17.
That's
So,
not bad. No?
16, mainly sunny.
there
A
you
little
go.
rain, I heard maybe later, but
16. We're from
Oh, he's
Edmonton. Like, I
okay.
mean, that's pretty much summer.
No, I'm soft now.
You're
I'm
soft.
just like,
16's too cold.
it's like,
There's
I
just
need
something
a
about
hoodie or something.
that 16 in fall that just feels colder.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
There is cold
That's
in
true.
the air. There's no doubt about it. You can.
There's that
definitely-
crisp.
Yeah. It's September, though. It's September.
Our 2 weeks of fall are almost up.
Right.
It's sad.
Do you remember fall last year when it was like
Was it
29
plus- yeah,
degrees?
plus
30,
And then
yeah,
the
it was
next
plus
day
30.
we like immediately fell off the cliff and it was like 2 degrees. And then winter was here. Like we skipped fall. We
always
went
do.
straight summer
Summer,
to
winter.
winter
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. And I mean, this summer's been crazy with all the smoke, right? I think I saw a stat yesterday, the most smoke days ever,
Yeah, I think I saw that.
which
too.
is crazy. And on Sunday, I think the index was above 10.
No.
Yeah,
It was that
10
bad?
plus.
Bad.
Yeah, it was bad on Sunday.
We've gotten so used to it
I
now.
mean, yeah,
That's
that
true,
the
right.
10s happen and we're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever, this
It's
is
fine.
fine.
Going for a 5K.
Yeah. It's crazy because like when you're driving and you see the sun, it looks kind of, apocalyptic and kind of eerie. And, I've got a couple of teenagers and we were driving in the car and I said, if you ever go to India, this is what the sun looks like all the time because of the smog and the pollution and all of that, right? So it's always like that. And to see it here, it's kind of weird when you're used to like blue sky and sunshine.
Yeah. Billion people in India.
Yeah.
40 million we just hit here in Canada,
right.
and we're in the middle of nowhere on the prairies. So it's a little
Yeah.
bit kind of hits
And
home,
we're just,
doesn't it?
4 million in Alberta.
Yeah,
And this
exactly.
is what we've been used to all summer. So it is kind of weird.
Not good.
I miss the blue skies.
It's true.
Yeah. Maybe today.
It looks like they were,
Yeah, I
they were
think
back
they're back,
yesterday.
yeah.
Yesterday air index was 3, so we're back to normal.
What is very sunny right now is the Golden Bears football team.
Hey.
That is a good program that we've seen right now coming out from the Bears. Yeah, that's a big win going to Saskatoon and taking down the Huskies.
Well, they hadn't won in Saskatoon since 2010. That was a playoff game, a massive comeback 13 years ago. They hadn't won there since. I mean, between the Huskies and Calgary, that they've dominated Canada West largely. Well, UBC had a good few years too. No, it's massive. And from what I heard, I mean, the score was 26-22. Talking to guys that called the game, they said the Bears absolutely dominated this football game.
Wow.
And I mean, they're putting up rushing yard. I mean, they had 300 rushing yards a couple weeks ago against Manitoba, putting up big numbers on the ground again. So they're not even I mean, Hetlinger threw a couple picks on Friday, which he's gonna have to clean up. One pick six, one other that it was nearly a pick six late in the first half. But they're playing really well. And the questions they had last year defensively, I'm not saying they're gone, but they're answering the bell. So yeah, it's people. I mean, it's funny when I worked at the U of A a bunch of years ago. That's the last time the Bears actually hosted playoff games. And people went nuts. I mean, it's funny. It's a somewhat of a quiet program because they've struggled so much. But when when they do well, I mean, even the home game a couple weeks ago, the berm was covered. I mean, the crowd was amazing. So if they can keep this up, it'll be huge for them.
Well, a road game this week against UBC.
Yep.
You come back home 4-0.
Yeah.
How crazy would Footfield be?
Yeah, party.
Like
It'll be
you've
massive.
got Regina at home. Like the students are going to be ready to have a good time with that one, and they're actually pretty fun to watch. I watched that game on TELUS TV.
Yeah.
And they were a fun football team. Like they had the running game was awesome. They were able to move that football, which is what you want. This isn't a team that was winning like 10-7 or something.
No.
They put up points. They were able to move the ball, put up over 500 yards total offense.
Yep.
And then defense played really well. And it's exciting seeing growing up in Edmonton.
Yeah.
I'm not used to the Golden Bears being like it's hockey and
Yeah.
volleyball. Those were the two top ones. Basketball, up and down, but they've been there. Football, it's never been something that it's like, yeah, we're in the top 10, baby.
Yep.
And I think it's because of all of those years where they were just horrible, right? And they struggled so badly. And I mean, everybody. I mean, the Elks are a classic example. 0-9, and all of a sudden they turn around. Now people are going to be thinking about going to the game. They're excited. They're excited about this player. So I can see how the program is going to feed off of that. And it's great to hear that they're filling the stands and the berm and everything like that. Maybe maybe a little Neon Dion is rubbing off on everybody.
I don't know. Yeah, Chris Morris.
Deion Sanders. Is he wearing sunglasses now and a ball cap or
no
gold chain?
No, he's a little more Belichick-esque with like
The hoodie.
windy, windbreaker kind of thing.
Cut off arms on the hoodie.
Actually, I think he has had that once or twice. So
That's
it
a
might
great
be,
look.
yeah.
I mean, that's a classic. Business look for a coach. Right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will say he motivates more like Dion than Belichick. When he was first got hired and he would join the shows a few times. Dusty, I remember first time he was like, I'm ready to sign up for the program or not through a wall for this guy.
How tall is he? Like 6'9" or something like that?
huge.
He's a
huge,
big man. He's a big man, and he has a presence to him, right?
Yeah.
So when he talks, you're going to listen, whether you want to or not.
And the credit also just for building a program right now that's good with U of A is you have to do it with academics being at the front. And that's not something that can be said across this country. And there's certain programs, academics aren't that important when it comes to athletics. The Bears and Pandas, that's always something that matters. And to do that for football, that's hard to do. And in fact, 3-0, I don't know when the rankings come out.
It's later this morning.
Is it? Okay, I'll got to be top, close to top 5, but they're going to be in the top 10. They should be. But to be doing this while academics does actually, like this isn't the U.S. where we're talking about student athletes and quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Canada, it's student athletes.
Yeah, and it's a great point because when he came in, as you said, Matt, like when he came in, his focus first was on the academic side. Let's bring in kids that want to be here for the academic experience and who play football. Let's worry about that first. Keep them in school. And because that's the only way you can build a program. You can't be building a program where guys are in for a year and gone and in and out. And he's managed to largely do that. And I talked to him last year and he said, when he first got in, he said, that part they could deal with. He said the athleticism piece was the challenge. And he said, it's just night and day, even what their receivers can run now compared to what they had 10 years ago. So he's like, we've got the athletes now to complement the students staying in school. So we've got a good mix. And now I think, again, we'll see. But this year, it looks like they're starting to get that mix fully coming together for the first time, well, since the mid, 04, 05, and then certainly since the early 80s when they were last at a level where, they got to 2 Vanier Cups in 80 and 81.
I mean, I haven't seen the roster, but I wonder how many of those players have been mined here from teams locally, right? Because there's so many good programs, whether you look in Edmonton or surrounding areas, like Sherwood Park. Sal has always had a really good team out there and some great players. So it'd be interesting to see what the makeup is of that roster.
It's lots of Edmonton kids, but the nice thing too is he's starting to pull kids from elsewhere, right? Yeah. Kids are wanting to come here, so you're pulling kids from Saskatoon and Calgary and Regina and some of the football hotbeds, at least over the last 10, 15 years. So that's a good sign too, is he's starting to get players coming here. Not that he hasn't over the last 10 plus, but more of them are coming now.
Shocking that a former principal / teacher would put academics first.
Exactly.
What a surprise. But that's great. I like that that's the focus. And then, the athletics part is great, but then you need to worry about your schooling in your future.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the football, I guess, there is 1B as opposed to 1A where that is the school element.
A good friend of mine is the principal out at Sal, Sonny Sandu, and he loves athletics, but as much as he loves athletics, it's all about school too. You're there for a reason, right? So the athletics does come secondary. So show me that you can get through your classes and also balance athletics, and that's I think the formula for success. Right now.
Yeah, because especially for football. I mean, not that the other programs is not the case, but again, just that continuity and being able to keep players. Like I'm doing the Saskatchewan Calgary game Friday, so I started to do a bit of prep for that last night. And look at the Huskies, and defending Hardy Cup champions, they've hardly lost anybody. I mean, their starting lineup, both defensively and offensively, are largely the same. that's how you win. I mean, whether we're talking CFL, NFL, that's how you win. You've got a roster that's coming back, assuming you like the talent. You've got some continuity there, and that's partly where maybe not so much the Bears have struggled, but they just haven't had that mix of all the things we're talking about. And again, we'll see, but it's starting to come together a bit for Chris Morris.
Coming together pretty well for the Edmonton Elks too right now is hey, the CFL power rankings come out.
They're 4.
It's at number 4, right in between you and I. Right in between you and
as
you're
soon as I saw
5,
that
maybe I was
yesterday, I'm
going
like,
3.
oh, wow, okay. Recency bias, 4 out of 5.
That's what power rankings are.
Yeah,
They're recency bias. This team is. Where do you guys have them on your power rankings? And while you answer, I'm just going to quickly go bump up some mics quickly.
Yeah, bump up those mics.
I'm kind of shocked at just how they've kind of turned this season around,
right?
Just after making a few changes. And I know everybody's always like, and I'm one of them. Trey Ford was always in the mix, but he just couldn't get a shot. Obviously he had that big injury, and he's just fun to watch now, right? And this team is just not just galvanized around him, but other players as well, right? Tom and I were talking about Faithful and the kick and his character and his story. And so, I think this team, they believe in themselves, right? And why wouldn't they? Look at the way that they've won down the stretch here in the last couple of games. So, they've got a tough schedule here coming down to the end, as tough as anyone in the CFL probably has to end the season. But I think the belief in that room is at a point where it hasn't been for years, right? And so, the ceiling is very high for these guys.
Why did they wait so long? Now we can start to
I don't know if we'll ever know.
Well, the thing that comes out is Trey Ford was not good in practice, and he wasn't showing well throughout training camp. He was outplayed by Daggy, and just in the practice time, he wasn't playing well. And that's all you could somewhat to a degree, gauge a player on his practice. But
a huge part of it is, yes, but
I've heard Chris Jones say that, and I don't believe it.
I've heard it from a few people around the camp,
camp as well,
and the practices that they've said that straight up he wasn't looking good at practices. Which so there's a little bit of an excuse, but then the other side is but it also was really bad, and so why not give it a try sooner?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so there is there's a defense, but there isn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know at what point
he's managed to turn it around somehow pretty quickly. I don't know if a new OC is what did it for him, but
makes a difference. No, but I think the challenge. I remember having a chat with Chris Jones last year before or during training camp, and he was, raving about Trey Ford and just everything he could do, what he could, and I said to him, can he make all the throws? Oh yeah, he can make all the throws. So somewhere between that and then him getting hurt, that mindset shifted, and suddenly Taylor Cornelius, who was number 4 a year ago, is the guy that they're now anointing as a starter. And here's a contract for you for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Which just, again, I don't know what anyone saw in him last year that warranted a contract, or that Trey Ford was going to be the guy or not. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But and I'm not totally sure Trey Ford was fully healthy at camp either, because it sounds like he wasn't even. His arm was maybe not quite where it needed to be coming back, and so I don't know if that delayed things a bit too. But
did he get knocked out in that initial injury when he got hurt last year? I can't remember.
Shoulder. I
don't know.
Yeah, shoulder. And then he came back and he played one more game at the end of the year against BC.
Yeah.
Shoulder injuries there's a lot of moving parts up there, right? So, maybe the road back to getting back to 100% was really long, and he's there. But man, this guy, every time he gets the ball scrambling, Glenn Suter's comparing him to Doug Flutie. That is high praise for a guy who's a Canadian, and he's the future. And I think that's going to put some bums in the seats at Commonwealth moving forward, win or lose.
Well, as he should, and it's just it's just such an electrifying way to play the game.
Fun.
Do you remember when Michael Vick first came on the scene in 2004?
Yeah.
And how crazy that was watching him run around the field and do things that you could only try to do in video games. And
right.
You did get to play with him as video games, and it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So it was a cheat code for yourself when you're playing Madden online and stuff. That's kind of what Trey Ford is, where it's unless you actually take him to the turf, the play is never going to be over with Trey Ford. As close as the defense is, because he's going, if he finds that little spot to escape, You don't know what he can either throw that ball and beat
Exactly.
you, or he's going to run with that ball. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you plan for that as a defense.
I think to have the ability to be able to scramble and then be able to still pick out a receiver on the fly, that's a specialty
Well, and that- I think
that we
that's-
haven't seen for a while.
No, and that's a great point because I think that to me is what stood out watching him is I mean, we've seen lots of scrambling quarterbacks over the years who they can run and that's great,
Yeah.
but they don't have an ability to keep their eyes downfield to see what's going on. And
Mhm.
he, young in his career, I mean, he didn't play a lot at Waterloo either. Like he didn't start a
Right.
lot there.
Yeah.
So this guy's really young in his football development, and so that ability, as you said, Min, to be able to get out of the pocket and keep your eyes downfield and make plays.
Yeah.
That puts him at a level that if he can continue to work at that and become a quarterback that can be more of a threat in the pocket when he needs to be and use his feet, a la Tracy Ham as he got older, a la
Yeah.
Damon Allen as he
Damon
got
Allen,
older,
for sure.
and even Flutie as he got more comfortable as a starter in this league. Again, not saying that Trey Ford's the next Hall of Famer, but
Yeah.
I think the comparisons are apt in terms of what we're seeing.
Well, and that's the big key. Just when it does come to that quarterback, is just too many of the runners. They look for the first
Yeah,
option, and then it's I'm running.
That's right.
I got nothing else to do. And Trey Ford, some may say there's a couple people that think, he just panics and he's always running panic runs. And it's like, no, because he's still trying
He's
to
evading trouble. Yeah.
He's evading trouble and he's still trying to see if there is that pass that could beat you. And, look at the touchdown pass to Eugene Lewis last week there. He's moving around,
Yeah.
but he hits the receiver. Other quarterbacks, they're just still taking off.
Yeah.
They're going to see how many yards they could get. Instead, last week, he hits Eugene Lewis and they get the 7 points and they get the win. And that's what makes him so special. And he's so young.
Well, yeah.
With this, like, what could he potentially still grow into? And this isn't the guy. We've talked about this before. Like, he's not going to the NFL.
No.
So for the CFL, which is a shame for him, but
Yeah.
he's just not that quarterback that would make it there. But that's great for the CFL because you do have this quarterback that could be here for how long, and you can market, and he could be a face of this league, along with hopefully Chad Kelly, and maybe you get a Nathan Rourke coming back, and then like imagine you have those three guys that you're selling.
And
That's
the cool thing
entertaining.
about Ford, from what I've seen, and it's so early still, and I think we have to keep that in mind,
Yeah.
but these are good things, good indicators that we're seeing. He's embraced that.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to see more Ford jerseys at Commonwealth Stadium. People get pumped up when his name is called in the starting lineup. People actually cheer at those games, whereas before it'd be like, and the crowd goes, well, yay, or the crowd rejoices. What's that old Monty Python? Yay. But now it's like, yeah, like they want it.
Like a Bronx cheer.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the cool thing. And then he doesn't seem to shy away from anything. By all accounts, talking to people around the organization, he'll do as much media as needed, as long as it doesn't interfere with his meetings and his prep and all of that. Like you need somebody to embrace and to have a
For sure.
Canadian kid in a city that has a rich history of CFL and football, talking about the Golden Bears and our, our junior football programs as well, and the great high school programs that we have. But to see a Canadian kid do that and embrace it and continue to have early success is actually really refreshing and might be just what
100%.
the doctor ordered. We're what, a month and a half into this thing? Let's see where it goes. But so far, so good.
And I also think that it sends a message to the league and to any other kid who wants to be a quarterback in Canada that, okay, well,
it's doable.
there's a Canadian
You can
kid
do it.
who's starting in the CFL now. Never was like that. And, I think you'll start seeing more hopefully down the road.
Just to the point of that you just made, like in the community media, all that.
Yeah.
That's what Michael Riley did.
Yeah.
And
He
that's
was
like that
amazing.
was the time
Yeah.
people loved this team
Yeah.
still. That was maybe the last time, and then things were starting to dropping down. But that's the type of quarterback he was, and I'm seeing that in Trey Ford in a way, and that's going to get people excited about wanting to watch this team, to cheer this guy, and go support the team.
Well, but what you brought up a second ago, which I think is a crucial point, is you talk about Chad Kelly and you talk about Trey Ford and maybe Nathan, who knows, but it's been such a problem in this league the last decade of there has not been the depth of quarterbacking that we maybe have seen in the past. And it's such a well, the NFL is too, but it's such a quarterback driven league that if you don't have that depth top to bottom through 9 teams, the overall game that you're putting on the field is never going to match what it needs to be. And I mean, I got fortunate enough to do one of the Ched games, and we actually had Randy Ambrosi on, and so I asked him a question carefully. I didn't want to I'm the new guy. I don't want to rock the boat here too much. But I just exactly
Mike Wallace.
But I asked him, I asked him what about? I mean, at that point, some of the number, I think there were 6 teams at that point in the league under 20 points a game.
Yeah.
And I said, like, it's been a challenge with quarterback. And he said, yeah, like, we know, and we're looking back in some strategies to try to figure out how to address this issue and get, whether it's more Canadians or more Americans coming up to stay and be quarterbacks in this league that can build in this league. And I think if they can figure that out, again, I think this league can get to a level that maybe we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I was actually really excited when I woke up the one day and I saw Chad Kelly sign a 3-year
Yeah.
deal. Because there was a guy, I'm like, oh, is this guy, like, is he going to stay or something?
But what
I
is he?
mean,
He's 29. He did the NFL thing, had some problems.
I'll always have that. I know there's a news today about USFL and XFL. I don't know.
Well,
Like,
I was going to say, let's bring that up after.
but is this a guy that's maybe, he's got the name because he's got the lineage from Jim Kelly? Like, do we lose him or something? And
He's like 36, no?
Isn't he? He's 29.
Oh, I thought he was in his
so
30s.
I thought still got quite a few years ahead of him. But it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, but to see him commit for 3 years, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. Like, he looked great in the Grey Cup last year. It's the reason I picked him in my fantasy football league.
Yeah, he hasn't let you down.
10th round. He actually hasn't. Jake Mayer's let me down big time. Chad Kelly, no, we've got like the best point scorer this year. Picked him late, but he just looked like a stud. I'll just go there, and he's proven that again this year. And just to have him stay in this league and then Trey Ford step up, and I don't know, like Jake Dolegala in Saskatchewan, maybe there's something there. And then you've already got Zach Larson. Vernon Adams Jr. has proven. Maybe we're looking at a 2024. Like this year, injuries was a big issue when it came to the quarterbacking. But maybe next year we're looking at, if healthy, a lot of the teams, the majority of the teams have a legit quarterback that you can be excited about.
Interesting that you bring up, or not interesting that you bring up Trey Ford. Obviously, he's a hot topic item right now. But there was a time, I think it was around 2015, when the Oilers were in the middle of the decade of darkness before they won the draft lottery, and I think the W were on the cusp of winning a Grey Cup. There was a conversation that we had at the rink amongst the media going, who is the most popular athlete in the city right now? And the consensus was Mike Riley.
Yeah.
So it's doable, and it happened in recent history. And that was prior to McDavid coming in. That was Hall, Everly, Nugent Hopkins, Ryan Smith had retired. But yeah, at that time, like
I can see that.
doable.
I don't see it moving forward.
No, yeah.
I don't see Connor McDavid.
97, 29.
Things have changed.
That's why I take a while.
Within that stadium, I've talked to some season ticket holders who were like, yeah, it was like nails on a chalkboard sitting there.
Yeah.
People with bags on their heads, and now all of a sudden within the season, it has just like turned, right? And a lot of those sections, the people who were down on the team are not there anymore, and there's like new people there. So I think it's arrow, as Tom Rennie used to say, arrow up, right? Arrows up,
He did used to say that.
and it's looking good. And I'd love to see how many more people turn out to the games here down the stretch.
They want to watch the team have success. That's the thing.
That is what they've always wanted. Yeah.
But like there's almost this spite with this team coming out of COVID, the name change.
Yeah.
There was this bitter taste. And then on top of all of that, the crappy product.
Losing for a long time too.
And so it almost became fun for some.
Consistency, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Front office.
Dump on them.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, the people that were negative and dumped on the team, maybe they're not showing up. But what I saw against Calgary a week and a half ago were people that wanted to see success.
Yes,
they wanted to be entertained. So that lust for the team and success and the hope, it still lingers. And I think that was a great example of that. And that's a good sign, I think, considering how down in the dumps this organization has been for the last few years.
Yeah, your pride takes a shot to the berries, right? Because you've got this franchise that is, the crown really of the league, with all the winning that's been done and the players that have come through here, and then you have this record, which is the worst I think North American franchises for futility, right? And so I don't blame fans for giving up and walking away because it just looked like there was no hope in sight. But all of a sudden, out of the ashes rises Trey Ford, and it may be one of the best stories in recent years from this market, right? This kid has kind of grabbed his team by the horns, and there's other supporting casts who are great as well. And whether they make the postseason in this long shot here, I think it won't matter. I think the fact that they've been able to turn it around in the middle of this season when they were they didn't have one win on the board, I think will get them tons of rope, right?
And also though, like we'll see what they do in these next 4. Like
Yes.
it's gonna like if they get shut out again against BC and
That
lose
can't
to
happen.
Winnipeg and
No.
Toronto,
I can't see
all
that
this
happening.
excitement is gone.
Yeah.
But like it'll be interesting just as you look towards next year. Okay, how confident could Elks fans be with this team next year? And it's going to really rely on 3 of the next 4 games. Let's take Montreal out of this.
Yeah.
You're taking on the 3 best teams in the Canadian Football League. I think 2 of which
And
are
another
at home.
Saskatchewan, right? Another Saskatchewan game.
No,
that's it.
No, it's Montreal,
BC. Well, BC first.
Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto. I think it's just those 4
Yeah,
that
that's
are
right.
left.
Yeah, that is.
2 of which would be home, which I think it's Winnipeg and BC at home.
Yes, BC this Friday.
Yeah.
So like,
huge.
you almost could have beat Winnipeg at home.
Can
2
they
weeks
beat
ago.
BC at home?
Yeah.
Don't you
I
think?
think with the way
BC's been up and down a little
Right.
bit too. Yeah, I think absolutely they can. And you never know what Vernon Adams Jr. you're going to get. And this defense has been playing. And the nice thing too is this defense isn't on the field as much as they were earlier in the year.
Good point, Doug.
Right? They're actually getting a break. So and yeah, I think they can absolutely beat BC.
And when they played them the first 2 times, the mindset I think of the team is totally different now.
Yeah.
Right. And that'll go a long ways.
Well, this goes to the discussion we had yesterday about the power rankings that I have the Elks number 3.
Wow.
I love BC just because I don't like the way BC has fully played the last few weeks, and I've liked where the Elks have been. BC's lost to Saskatchewan, they lost to Hamilton. They had an unbelievable comeback against Ottawa, but they shouldn't have come back against Ottawa. If that field goal just goes through the uprights, it's game over. They lose to Ottawa. Not exactly been playing great football as of late.
Yeah.
Whereas the Elks, bad second half against Winnipeg, but got a 22-0 lead against Winnipeg's. Won 3 of their last 4 games. They're on that upward trend then. Like, I'm really excited to see this game because I think we'll know, are the Elks kind of legit of what we've been talking about these last little while? And I do think that they can absolutely go win. So yeah, it's not about just getting that point this week. Not about just ending the 3 straight shutouts or whatever. It's like, hey, can they actually go win this football game?
And the incredible thing is, if they put together a decent run to close out the season here, a conversation we had at 1260 RIP was a better year, respectable year. Yeah, pour one out for 1260 would be 7 wins. They might not get there, but they could get close unless they upset,
3 out of the remaining
Toronto.
4.
Yeah, but if they get that win against BC, great start. Maybe you beat Montreal, where you should beat Montreal, and then if you pull off an upset against a Winnipeg team that maybe rests Caleros, or you surprise Toronto, which I don't think is going to happen. Maybe you do get to that 7-win season, and all of a sudden you're like, that was progress, right?
Yeah. And maybe you're crossing over.
Well,
depending
that's
on
a good point.
and depending on how the rest of the standings
comes
go
down to
here.
Montreal. It's not even Hamilton. I think it's Montreal. I should look at their schedule because that might be a huge game.
Yeah, so it's really both Montreal.
Montreal
Although
and Hamilton
now,
are tied.
Hamilton though shooting upwards, right?
And right now, I mean, they have as good a chance of catching Saskatchewan as they do because they're all sitting at 6 wins.
Right.
So
yeah.
So it's and they don't hold a
tight,
tiebreaker on Saskatchewan either, so that doesn't help them. So they got to finish ahead of somebody.
Yeah.
Between Montreal, Hamilton, and the Riders.
So Montreal's 5 remaining games.
Yeah,
they've got Calgary this week on the road, so that's going to be a little difficult. But like these are all winnable. They're not taking on Winnipeg, Toronto, or BC or anything like that. But then they get Ottawa back to back. Then they get Edmonton, and then they get the Ticats. If the Owls don't pick up a few wins in the next few weeks, that October 14th game here in Edmonton could be pretty like if what if they're tied in points and we got that game here in Edmonton October 14th? That could be a huge game then.
Right.
The Hawks got to go just pick up a couple wins and hope for some help from most notably Ottawa.
Yeah.
We got
wild. Just thinking that we might have that big game October 14th is a wow.
Pardon? Yeah. You can text us 780-218-9999. Rusty Shackleford, one of the best aliases, unless that's his real name. Texts in says, boys, a player I got behind years ago was Leo Groenewegen. He was an absolute gem on the O-line for years. Yes. That was
former UBC Thunderbird, Leo Groenewegen.
There you go. Yeah. And long time Eskimo, and Rusty Shackleford loves him. But we haven't had a lot of that. Like we had Terry Vaughn come back, and it's 20 years ago where he won his first Grey Cup. with Edmonton, and then who else has got like we're looking at those guys that came in the early 2000s now, and they've got gray beards, and we go, oh, remember back in the day, and I know we're talking about Groenewegen here, but like that's how long it's been, really. Now Mike Riley is kind of that guy, but outside of Mike, you could look at a Darius Bowman, right? You could be like,
Fred
there's a good
Stamps.
guy.
Character, yeah.
Fred
Fred Stamps.
Stamps, absolutely.
JC Sherritt.
Yeah. There's a few guys that JC Sherritt, Odell Willis, who's in
Willis.
town,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
He never said
At least we're not focusing on the 80s.
that's true.
Like
Yeah,
another team
nothing
beyond
against
that
the
done a
80s,
lot
right?
of that
Yeah,
until
yeah.
recently.
Well,
You know,
yeah, no,
at
they
least we're in the
certainly have.
late 90s, early 2000s.
They always skip over. We'll get into that later. It doesn't. But anyways, do you want to talk about the XFL USFL
Sure, I
merger?
haven't read much in this yet because it kind of broke late. But
okay, it's just I'll read. I'm reading off of TSN's website. XFL USFL are in advanced talks about a merger. Axios is reporting the deal would be a merger and not an absorption. Regulatory approval would be required. Both the XFL USFL are obviously reboots. I'm a little bit surprised that the XFL, with The Rock coming in and all the gusto that came with that, is on the cusp of merging with the USFL, which I believe was the Spring League up until a year or two ago, and then rebranded as the USFL. And then, speaking of the CFL just trudges along, slow and steady.
Well, thank
wins the
goodness the
race.
CFL started to cut you off. I mean, to cut you off.
No,
Tom,
no,
but
go
sorry,
for it,
but
Doug.
good thing as you look at it now that the CFL, XFL discussions. I mean, as a lifelong CFL guy, that broke my heart to even think that that might be a thing.
Right.
But when you look at this, it's probably nice that they didn't tie their, tie themselves to that
It's
ship.
the wagon, yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't mind the thought of it, the flirtation.
Yeah, no,
And I
it
was like,
made
this
business
it was
sense.
kind of sexy,
Yeah.
but how much would the game change? Like, there's some things in the CFL. I love it too, Doug. I'm not as hardcore. I like to think I'm a devout follower of the CFL and the Canadian game. There are some things in the Canadian game I'm like, this is a bit ridiculous. The 20-yard end zone's too big. Move those field goal. I don't actually leave the field goal posts. Get rid of the rouge. I just think that it's silly at this point. That's just me, and I know I get ripped for it. Completely understand. But so I was kind of fascinated by the potential of an XFL CFL merger. What would that look like? What is the Grey Cup the ultimate prize, which I think it should be 'cause of its history and rich past. But then the more you heard, and I think it was like Toronto and the Argonauts ownership were big into this, and there's always this lust from Toronto to go American. And listen, Toronto, you're never getting an NFL team. Sorry. Like they're talking about London and Germany over Toronto. That's never going
the only
to happen.
shot was Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Bills
And
won't
that's
allow
so
that to happen.
But it's almost like there's this because Toronto is left out in the cold when it comes to the NFL. It tries to be as NFL friendly as it possibly can. It shuns the CFL, which is totally unfortunate. It's kind of funny to be like, no, Toronto, eat it. Like that's not going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy that they're not filling that stadium with the team that they have right now. I mean, it's, a couple of blocks from downtown. It's right there. It's a great venue. But that whole merger, I always thought it was more the CFL just kind of saber rattling to try and wake up Canadian fans and saying like, okay, this merger could happen if you don't kind of support the product that's in this country, right? And so could it have happened logistically, financially for all these Canadian teams to be traveling to the States? I don't know. I don't know if the pockets are deep enough for them to be able to sustain that. But I'm glad it stayed Canadian because the game is unique to itself and to this country.
We got a text that came in kind of along those lines, comes in from Steven, says, I work in finance. There's always a shark and always a fish.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a merger. Someone is the acquirer, and anyone spinning it as a mutual merger is the lower. That's from Steven.
No, I like, and look, I'm not gonna. He probably knows finance and all that a lot more than me, clearly. But when I look at these two leagues, though, I do see that they're both probably just looking and go, if we don't do this, we fail. We both fail, like type thing. And like the best way to go forward and winning is we have only one league, and instead of getting into a fight between each other, trying to figure out who it is and bleeding money against each other, which ultimately then will sink both leagues, they're coming together saying, let's just do this together because I'm completely surprised by this news because the XFL numbers weren't that great on TV last year.
Right.
And attendance-wise, like, it was funny to me that we talk about the CFL and we're like, oh, this league, it's in trouble here in Canada. And what we're averaging probably anywhere between 20 and 25,000 overall. They were averaging probably 10 to 12,000. Everyone down south was like, this is great. What an attendance here. And it's like, well, they have bigger population, they have smaller attendance than Canada. And we're praising their TV numbers. I think they were pulling in like at heights just over 1 mil or something. Well,
with 300 million potential
for 300
viewers.
million potential viewers, you average when the CFL gets in Canada of 500 million or 500,000, that works out
Which is
to
like the
millions of if it was the same as the US. And like, so I looked at that and I went like, yeah, it's the XFL people I think gave a little extra credit to just because they had the Rock behind it. But it wasn't actually TV numbers weren't that great. So, and I think the USFL actually had better TV numbers than the XFL many times. And that's why I look at
Like
this.
the old USFL
No,
or
this
the
this one,
recent
this past year. This past year.
Really?
I think the USFL had some better numbers some weeks than the XFL.
But then weren't they all playing out of one city? Wasn't that the USFL?
Well, that's what the spring
They
league
did
was.
it the first year, and last year I can't remember if it was just one spot again or if they had just a couple of places.
Oh, okay.
I know McLeod Bethel Thompson went and played in it.
Yeah.
They played in
he left CFL, right? To go
They
play
played in 4 stadiums last year.
New Orleans.
Okay.
8 teams played out of
Something
4.
like that.
Yeah.
it was a
But
weird
it makes
move.
sense for them to. I'm sure they were in a boardroom and they looked at the numbers. I mean, it's like two candidates in an election splitting votes, right? Like they're going after the same market. So if it makes sense to merge, why wouldn't you, right? Instead of kind of splitting the pie, so to speak.
Well, at the end of the day, back to the finance point, neither of these leagues bring a lot of value to the table.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of inherent financial value that exists within either of these leagues because they haven't built enough yet where that's the case. So I agree with the fish and shark idea for sure, but I don't know I'm not sure who in this is necessarily, or it's just two fish realizing to what you're saying, like, if we don't figure this out, it's not going to matter.
Does this end whatever entrepreneurs in the US are saying, I can start a football league that'll be successful. We watched the AAF falter after that season. The XFL rebooting twice in like a 3 or 4 year span. That's on the cusp of failure. USFL, former the spring league, like what was that to begin with? It was like a tryout week or a few weeks for these players to get contracts to CFL and the NFL, obviously, but like, is this finally the line where people go, we cannot create new leagues and think people are going to feel that they're relevant and compete at all, even if it's at a different time of year from the NFL? The NFL is basically a 12-month league with all the stuff it does. And then here in Canada, you leave the CFL alone.
And they're the great white shark. Like they own it. They own 99.9% of that market.
Right.
I mean, even in Canada, like you talk to young football fans, they kind of laugh at the CFL. They're like, "Oh, we're 100%."
And that bothers me because it's that little brother syndrome. I really do believe we have that. And I'm going to tell people that haven't heard this yet: the Americans don't give 2 iotas about what Canadians think about the NFL. Seriously.
No, it's true.
But it's like any successful league that is global, right? So I think NFL is a global league. You have fans in Europe, you have fans all over the world, really, who are fans of NFL football. It's just like the Premiership, same kind of deal. There's all sorts of other leagues that fall below the Premiership, but at the end of the day, it's the Premiership that is the elite league in the world, right? And I think the same goes for football. NFL, everybody else kind of falls in line after that, right?
Yeah.
And the XFL and the USFL is just trying to get a piece of their pie, plain and simple. As small as it is, as sliver of a piece of pie as it is, that's they do have that market. I've never tuned into an XFL or a USFL game.
I tried to watch a couple games last year, and I was like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It
Well,
didn't
XFL
connect.
went on.
I mean, you have
They
to
put
be
it
a
on TSN
diehard
Plus this year.
football.
XFL, so you couldn't even watch it on
I
TV.
didn't even know they were.
I wouldn't even know where to find it.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about, you talk about the NFL being a 12-month league. The NCAA has become almost 12 months too, because you think about the spring, you've got NFL draft, you've also got spring camp, spring games that are drawing
transfer
60,
portal
70,000
huge conversation. Yeah.
So, and that's a whole other conversation with the consolidation of conferences in the NCAA. But anyway, so I mean, to your point, man, there's pie there to be eaten. It's pretty small, and I think people will keep trying it. Right. I think they think, oh, I can make it work this time. I can make it work this time. And I'm with you. I don't know how you I don't know how you make it work. It's just there's too many eyes on the NFL, and understandably they are, and I just don't think you can actually make it. I don't think anyone cares beyond that.
That's why I feel like this was the last kick at the
Well,
can
yeah.
for any potential
seeing-
entrepreneur.
It's almost to extend that football season year round, right? So like you have to be a diehard to kind of keep carrying on and watching football in the spring.
What it is like one, the numbers that they did get for the XFL actually are still really good compared to other sports leagues in the US. There's a portion of people that watch football no matter what. That's all they want. Look at the Pro Bowl numbers. The Pro Bowl does really well, and that is garbage.
Yeah.
And so there is a market, and that's what they're trying to
really
get.
is.
I will say if the XFL and USFL fail, this will end it for now.
Yeah.
But there will always be 10 years from now, there'll be someone going, where the country's ready now for it. And it will always be someone that will come up and go, you want to know something? Now we're ready for spring football. Let's give it a go. There'll always be that conversation. It'll just put it to the back burner for a few years.
That burning ember from the original USFL.
That's right.
That's exactly
Herschel Walker days.
Yeah.
And it was a bit like I'm old enough to
Jimmy
remember, and I
Johnson.
didn't watch it a lot, but it was a big deal. Like especially it was '83, I think was their first year. It was a huge deal.
Because it was the first time anyone had ever taken on the NFL.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were pulling players in that normally would have been NFL players. Herschel Walker being a prime example. Jim Kelly, Steve Youngs, guys like that.
Right.
I mean, it was a big deal, and I know there's a whole million reasons why it failed.
Jeff Pearlman wrote a great book,
I'd like
Football for a Buck, and the stories, like the fact that it lasted a few years, even though Trump came in and destroyed it, because that's what he does with everything. Like the fact that they made it 3-4 years is a minor miracle when you hear the stories from some of those teams and the ownership groups and how messed up it was. But you're right, like the perception, Doug, was this is the next big league. Could the NFL be in trouble? No, because a lot of it was smoke and mirrors, but there is that perception still to this day that lingers on, and that's why does that flame and that ember still kind of burn in the background?
Great doc, one of the early ESPN 30 for 30s.
I was just going to say,
that was one of the first ones. I was on the USFL, and it was just.
Is there a hockey version for the WHA? There has to be. With Brett Hull. Well, just
Willis wrote a book on the WHA.
Yeah, I'm sure there's.
But I don't know if I know of a doc and stuff. That
30 for 30. But
yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be.
Yeah, I mean, all these leagues face it, right? All the top dogs all face another league trying to kind of take players away and pull players away. And
when do the Saudis try to get in on the NFL?
I'm sure it's on a list.
Yeah,
it seems
probably high on the list.
Aren't they going after pickleball right now or something? I don't know.
Oh, they're trying everything.
There's another sport that they just sank a bunch of cash into in the States. I saw the story somewhere on Twitter or something, but yeah, they are relentless, man. Yeah, I saw a story about the house, Ronaldo's house that's being proposed in Dubai or wherever he is. And it's $170 million.
Come on.
Like it is over the top crazy.
He needs it.
It's nuts. But
his ego needs a spot. His ego needs a place to be just
when the pit is endless.
In the door.
This is the world they live in, right? This is the world you live in.
Man, I was speaking with all these guys going to play in was it the Saudi League?
Right, Saudi League.
Yeah. I'm watching the highlights and I think it was Ronaldo. Like he's walking in with the ball basically from half with like uncontested, and the defender backs in on the 6
I think it was the Neymar one.
Or Neymar, sorry. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, these guys aren't even trying. And the people went wild, and he's laughing. He's going.
I watched a couple of games, or just even like a few minutes, and I was kind of like, nah, I can't. It's. I mean, for the folks that are there to be able to see this player live, amazing, right? Just same as it is for folks in Miami to be able to watch the greatest player ever. Every other home game. I mean, that experience alone is something that you'll be able to talk about forever. But does it bring the level of the game up? I don't know. Yeah,
the answer is no.
It's pretty watered down.
Like,
but they are pulling players all the time, right? I mean, as a Liverpool fan, there's talk about Mo Salah maybe in the new year going over there. I mean, for these guys at the end of their career to be able to make that kind of money, that's unheard of in any other sport. It doesn't exist in any other sport. So
the concern isn't the old guys going; it's the
young
guys. When do they like? And I think the Saudis took a good prospect recently for soccer. That was always the thing. I was like with golf with Liv, we never got to see it go fully, but it was Yeah, you're taking the Dustin Johnsons and these guys, but they're a little bit older. When Cam Smith went down, I was like, oh,
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
you took a good golfer
Right after the
one of the
Yeah.
best. Like,
British Open,
oh
right?
boy.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that you have. That like, hey, like, they could build a soccer league retirement home. That was what MLS was for the longest time. It was the retirement league,
You're gonna need more than
which is
one or two
cool.
young players, though.
But it's when does that money start convincing those few
Yeah.
young players to go? And that's when Europe has to be really concerned. Although UEFA's talking about maybe adding a Saudi team to Champions League, which is like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
European Championships and add a Saudi club into it.
Well, hey, UEFA likes money too.
Well,
Give me the Super League
Yeah.
now.
All those guys,
Yeah, that's right.
Super League.
they're
If
all
they're
money driven.
they want to
Oh,
ruin this
totally.
all, let's just get the Super League and let's just watch Liverpool take on Real Madrid every
My
year.
buddies and I always joke about when are they coming after hockey, and then the joke is they're not coming after hockey.
Hockey's fine for
Yeah,
a while.
hockey's good.
Trust
Hockey's
me.
good.
There's no,
The
but they,
KHL tried it,
But
and
they love
failed
hockey.
miserably.
I think it's Saudi Arabia. They love hockey. They love
Right.
hockey, right? They have rinks and they have the game. People
Well,
play there.
Global Series will go there at some point then. We're watching. There's
No
going to be
problem.
Melbourne games coming
Yeah.
up, right? LA and Arizona have their training camps there, and they just landed.
It's such a cool venue.
I think
It
once
is cool.
once the NHL revamps its marketing and is able to sell the game globally, I think then
Okay, is
Then
it
maybe.
able to sell its game globally though?
I don't think they can right now.
It's in first gear.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, like it's a sport that's winter.
well,
There's
that's
enough people that are never going to want to watch it in that sense. Like I don't, can you really market this globally?
well, they've
Sure.
yeah. I mean, they've
They've
tried.
tried.
Why not?
They've tried, but it's often been countries that are inherent hockey countries. I just think
Yeah.
you're trying to introduce something that's so foreign to people. I mean, you go to Australia. I mean, it is. Yeah, they're hockey rinks and
Yeah.
people play and expats, Canadians that are there
There's
playing.
even an
but,
Australian player, right?
well, that's right.
Walker
Exactly.
or
Nathan
whatever.
Yeah,
Walker.
Nathan
There's,
Walker.
there's another one too that's on the Arizona.
But
side.
it is
But
the
it's not
hockey
inherent. It's not built into their
winter
culture at
countries.
all.
Yeah,
And so
right.
so if you're the NHL, you're trying to. I mean, soccer's one thing. If you're trying to expand that, or Saudi Arabia's trying to. I mean, because at least it's something you can inherently build in a little bit more. Whereas hockey,
But it's played everywhere too, right?
that's right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's there. You
Yeah.
got a foundation. However good that foundation is, it's there. Most of these
And the
countries
cost
the NHL
is
wants to go
next to
into.
none.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there is no. If you're going to go to Riyadh, there isn't a lot of hockey culture in Saudi Arabia. If you're the NHL, so you're starting from zero,
Mhm.
trying to make people interested.
But you know, you
it's
play
not
it.
an easy sport to just go play.
No, that's right.
Like there is the street hockey, but
Sure.
how many people are going to then just go play street hockey in
No.
Australia now? Whereas with basketball,
Yeah.
it's very easy to get a net, put one up, and
Yeah, I don't know what the
basketball.
reaction would be if you took a Edmonton Toronto game to Riyadh and played it in a full barn. What the excitement level would be, or whether people at the end of that game would be like, "Yeah, this is an amazing sport. Like, I'm going to get into it."
Well, you're in field hockey countries there too, largely, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
So
Yeah.
they already think hockey's weird because you can shoot both ways. So
They
Yeah,
call it
ice
ice
hockey's-
hockey there,
they
right?
call-
That's
oh, yeah.
that's like what determines how well they know the game as we
Yeah.
know it, right? They call
Yeah.
it ice hockey. Jason Leduc says Saudis are coming for pro pickleball next,
Yeah.
which is becoming a
I
big
can't
thing.
watch that.
It's cool. I like it.
I
Throwing
play
off-
it, so I play it and I can watch it.
You can watch it, okay.
I don't seek it out, but if it's on, I'll watch because some of those players are prolific. Like we had a chance, a bunch of my buddies and I, we play at the Edmonton Volleyball Pickleball Center, which is just a little bit east of the brewery, just north of the
Oh, yeah.
Wilmot, like
Mhm.
97th Street area there. And so we usually play Sunday mornings. We have 2 courts, 8 guys, and we were playing beside. Apparently, he's one of the top ranked players in the country. And so we're playing, and often you'll notice the people playing beside you. And it was a guy and a girl against another guy and a girl, and this guy they were just smashing it. The rallies were like so fast. Like if we were going 2 times speed, these guys were like 10 times speed.
Wow.
And you notice it. The
They were
rallies.
dinking hard.
They were dinking hard, and they were
Don't get
they
in
were
my
crushing it.
kitchen.
And so afterwards at the desk when we were taking the rackets back, I'm like, who was Buddy beside us? Like those guys were really good. And he's like, oh yeah, he's a guy from Calgary, one of the top ranked players in the country. I was like, damn, like he was that good, and the rallies were that good. And like if you've ever played table tennis or badminton, squash, any racket sport, like you will pick up a pickleball racket and you can get into it.
I loved badminton.
So there you go.
Badminton was
Badminton's
so
great.
much fun.
Badminton.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one in so long. I want to play badminton.
Table
Yeah,
tennis,
any
let's
kind
table
of
tennis too.
rackets,
Let's go down that road.
racket sport. And then I mean, it was marketed as a sport for seniors or older people, but I see a lot of 30-year-olds 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
40-year-olds playing like right across the board.
My friend Michelle McMahon, who was the Dallas Stars ringside reporter for the last few years, was also with the Hurricanes. She left the Stars broadcast to go to do full-time pickleball tennis channel.
Crazy.
Wow.
No, and all the
There's a
ex-pros are
channel.
playing. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. They televise it. I think
I know they tell. I
CBS.
didn't know there was a
Yeah.
I think
channel.
CBS has a lot.
Steve Gobert was like hosting something with it at one point, but
LeBron's got a team or something, right?
yeah, but
he
LeBron's
invests
got-
some money.
he put money into Liverpool. Like, does he really know what he's doing?
Yeah, he put money into Liverpool, which has turned into like a small fortune, right? He got
Well,
in
he's
at,
jumping
got
in
at a
and
time.
he'll be the NBA owner of Las Vegas, and that's going to give him a lot of cash.
Oh yeah, they're gonna put a team in Vegas.
But who's the ex-Canadian tennis player who just joined pickleball? I think Eugenie Bouchard.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna go pro.
What a sad career that
And
was.
yeah,
Wimbledon.
tennis
There
is
was
tennis
she
is
got
hard,
so
man.
huge, and it's a shame it couldn't stay there longer.
But
mentally,
she
it's
paved the
tough.
way for some other great Canadian women.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sure if it went longer. Like, I'm just sad that because that run she had where she was getting to semifinals and the final, like it was awesome, and it brought a lot of people to watch.
She started young, right?
And she
had a meteoric
went right
rise
to the top right away.
And then sometimes the crash and burn can be pretty intense.
You see that a lot, especially in women's tennis. You see that a lot, like the early huge success. I mean, I think of Jennifer Capriati years ago, like huge success early, and it's just.
But Eugenie was during the Williams era, and I mean,
you're not.
You're
playing for second.
That's tough. Yeah, if not third or fourth.
Not to stay like getting to quarterfinals and staying consistently getting there was just like it was just gone. Like she shot up, she was great, and then she was done, and we are all just like, oh well.
I think with
that was such a shame.
I think with any sport, mentally is a huge part of it. And I think with tennis, even more so, right? If you check out even a little bit mentally, getting back on that horse and trying to compete at that level, I think is just exponentially.
She did have that injury too at the U.S. Open that really affected her, it seems, afterwards as well.
Yeah. One more text before we cut to break. It's already been an hour. This show flies, man. This text comes in and says, is the NFL really global? Other than Germany, the only place where players are paid to play are in U.S. and Canada compared to soccer, hockey, basketball, and baseball, which has multiple countries to earn a living and have international championships. Football is really a niche sport on the international stage.
Yeah, playing it in some of those other countries maybe is non-existent, but I mean, in England there's tons of fans. I have family over there that love football. They're Green Bay fans or Aaron Rodgers fans, but yeah, is it global? Maybe just in people that follow it, right? Expats who live abroad who can follow the game.
And it's growing on the international scene in terms of, even Edmonton next year we're going to host the International Federation of American Football Championship here, and you're seeing it. It's growing in places like Asia and even in Scandinavia, places like Sweden. Like there's a
Finnish league, Doug.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Yeah, when they did the global draft, they're talking about having partnerships with the Finnish league. I'm like, what does that look like?
So it's small, and I think but I think it's more. It's not so much whether people are playing; it's just what you're saying, man. It's the following, it's the fandom that exists, whether people are playing or not, and that's.
Is it at cricket's level?
No, definitely.
But like,
will it ever get to cricket's level?
But you look at like 100 followed athletes on social media or something. Like, there's no NHLers.
Yeah.
There's a couple of NFLers. They do crack that list.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. Like, it's still the NBA dominates, soccer dominates, cricket. There's some of those F1 dominates, but tennis.
Yeah.
But the NFL does show up in that list a little bit, and I think that it's the star power of the NFL that helps sell it across the world.
That's a bit of a wake-up call for people because we get so focused in on the 4 major North American sports that when you actually see on the global stage where those guys rank like that, it's very telling and a wake-up call. But most people are just like, whatever, I don't care. But when you take a step back and look at it, it's like, oh, the NFL is huge, but like, I didn't know cricket. Like Sachin Tendulkar, we met in LA. I had no idea. He was just unassuming little guy, and he came. He's like, "Are you guys here for the ice hockey team?" And I walked away from the conversation.
You had some Instagram posts with that, right? Or you
posted DVD did.
Yeah,
DVD and Gene talked to him for like 15 minutes. And they looked him up and they're like, this guy's got like 50 million followers.
That's wild.
And he was just this unassuming dude, and he was just asked about ice hockey.
Right.
Well, it's like F1. People say F1 had this boom because of Drive to Survive. No. F1 had a boom in North America because it's a Drive to Survive.
Yeah, globally it's always
big.
Yeah,
F1 has already been big.
There's legends
It's
in
just
that sport.
these two countries now find like, oh, this is a cool sport. I should watch it. Right. All because of that series. So once like,
and we're a country that produced Gilles Villeneuve. Like we had a legend in the game from a long time ago. Right. But it just was not people's radar. And just back to cricket. Like, I mean, I was born in England. I have family in England. And, my family comes from India, but cricket was never on my radar. Like I left England at a very young age. And, but over there, it's massive. Like people will watch games. Like, like,
and well, it's on the list to be considered for the 28 Olympics.
That's right. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's not in the Olympics.
Yeah. Flag football is too, actually. I don't think that's
I
gonna
work with a
happen,
guy
but
who
it's on
just
the
went
list.
down to the Caribbean to go watch some cricket, and he said it was wild, and it was a blast. So, I think there's a junior high cricket league in Edmonton.
Cool.
Like there's teams and there's guys. I mean, if you go to Victoria Park there, they're always playing.
Yeah.
They're always playing, and they want more fields to be produced so that they can play just in other parts of the city other than down by the golf course.
He's Tom Gazzola in Dhariwal, Manawanuk, Doug McLean. This is the EST Hangout. You're watching on YouTube or listening at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We're going to take a short break and we'll continue with the EST Hangout right after this.
Two guys and a goalie.
I think we're going to see some big things from Evander Kane this year.
You think so? Like if he stays healthy, like 40 goals or something?
He's used to Edmonton now. He's solidified, I think, his place in the dressing room. I think there's a comfort factor that takes a little bit of time.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Lock Shop.
This might be actually my favorite weekend of the year now that I think about it. Masters weekend's always right up there because you're kind of getting into a good period of time. But I got to tell you, this CFL triple header that's planned for Saturday is going to be amazing. I got my Chiefs raising a banner on Thursday night, and then the first full Sunday of NFL action. I mean,
that is a great weekend, buddy. That's a great weekend.
The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast, located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at noon, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Oil Stream.
Last summer on the Oil Stream, you and I discussed the possibility of Gagne coming back here on a PTO. He signed with Winnipeg and got an actual contract.
Anytime you can have Sam Gagne involved in your organization in any way, it's a major positive for you.
They love him.
The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
On it.
We are back here on the EST Hangout. Doug McLean, University of Alberta Golden Bears and Pandas analyst, as well as Edmonton Stingers play-by-play, because Paul Sir is the analyst of those ones. Matt Iwanek, Tom Zola, and Min Dhariwal of CBC Radioactive. What time does it go again?
3 to 6 every day, Monday to Friday. Yeah, Jessica Ing and myself.
I love CBC Radio.
Attaboy.
It's great. It's a talk radio to listen to, and
you know what?
If you want to go away from the sports, it's a nice driving, around, throwing on CBC. It's always wonderful.
I do appreciate
that. Thanks,
FM
Matty.
too. It's FM too.
It's FM as well.
You're the FM.
Oh, so I go AM. So I find the sound comes through better on AM.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know why, but
like in your car or in your home?
Car.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just have it online at home, but yeah.
Not all AM sound great.
Oh, when you drive a Porsche 911, that's kind of what happens, right?
It's like that's rolling deep.
Yeah.
We got the Oilers coming up.
We do.
Training camp tomorrow
already.
Medicals
and physicals.
You think already?
No, I'm just saying it's already that time. Yeah.
It feels like it
can be year round in this city.
Preseason game Sunday. We need to figure out our schedule for pre and post game during the preseason. There's been a lot on the go here at EST.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are going to be busy here coming up.
Good. Bring it on, man.
Jumping into practices and pre and post game.
Yeah. Pre and post continues on just like old times. So
that'll be good. Oil Stream pre and post game.
Yeah, we've renamed it.
Oh, is that
that's what it's going to be. Tom Gazzola back right here, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We're on YouTube, so
you guys try to make a list of all the names of the different shows related to Oilers over the years.
Oh,
I thought Oil Stream was already out there, but maybe not.
Well, Oil Stream, it's their weekly show.
Yeah,
Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. It's the Oil Stream. It's called branding. Branded it all under one name.
That's to have that familiarity. Now,
continuity,
and get it on a new era.
Pretty smart.
Also, is a little bit catchier than the Don Wheaton GM on White post game show, but we loved having Don Wheaton GM on White being our title sponsor.
I always pictured you driving like after the show, leaving in a pickup truck.
That's me. That is me. I'm a pickup truck guy.
Sponsored by Don Wheaton.
Yeah. I love decals on my vehicle. And that's just how I roll. I'm being completely facetious. But regardless, we're excited to get going. I'll be down at the rink tomorrow. Are you going to be spending time at the rink?
I'm going to try to come down. Yeah, a little more. It's tough to go all the time because we're doing our show is same day chase in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So, you're chasing guests for that 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock comes fast when you're, starting at 9 in the morning. And, but yeah, definitely going to try and come down there and get the mic in some of the scrums, get a vibe on, how the team is with some of the new players and whatnot. And for sure.
The one new player.
It's 2 blocks away. Yeah.
Yeah. One guy that came back for the third time and another guy that.
Another Connor and Sammy that we all know about.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there an answer to this question? Something needs to be learned through training camp for the Edmonton Oilers. Is there anything that needs to be learned from this team through training camp? Is there anything that we should be fully focusing on training camp, or is it we're focusing on stuff come regular season?
There's small storylines, I think, this training camp. But I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the goaltending, not question, but where is Jack Campbell's game at? I'm not sure. I don't think camp's going to tell you that. Obviously, we may know by Remembrance Day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think obviously you got the Gagne Sutter, debate around. I'm with Tom. I don't think there's a lot that you're. I'm actually what I'm really curious about is this. I mean, these early captain skates with everyone together. Yeah. What kind of an impact that has into camp and into the season? Like, does it actually? We see them sharper out of the gate than we may have. That I'm really curious about because you haven't seen this really anywhere else, and it's. I'm curious to see how that comes together.
I was just going to say, I mean, I haven't been around that rink for I don't even know how many years now, but I don't think I've ever seen a captain skate where guys have come in early That's a first.
Yeah, like
that's a first.
Mandatory, but not really, but
Yeah.
mandatory. You
Yeah.
should be there, kind of thing.
When you get a text from Connor, I think you're shocked. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw Sam
I'm
Gagne on a
skating.
plane
I
with
don't know
his
how you
kid.
could say I'm not going to skate. Like
Yeah.
if he's going to, I'm going to hit the ice for some practice. And it's pretty hard. Like, yeah, I don't need practice today. I'm good. I'm going to go
Staying
to
in
the court, you know?
Kelowna to golf for another week. Sorry,
Yeah.
Connor. No, you're not doing
I think the older this kid gets,
Connor?
you're starting to see glimpses of what we're not privy to inside that room.
Mhm.
And this is a guy who is he's a leader. He's leading that team. I mean, Desharnais, I think in an interview, there were some comments about him saying during the playoffs last year, he apologized for not making a pass, or he said to him, sorry, I didn't get you that pass. And he said, I'm not worried about points, right?
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm here to win. And so I think that's what this whole captain skate is just kind of, for years, we've beaten the storyline about the culture that's existed within this franchise or this team. I think we're seeing a captain and some of his leaders trying to kind of just establish a certain kind of culture and maintain it now. And that captain skate, I think, simply was all that was about, and it's about kind of getting guys to vibe together and just pick up where they left off last year.
With culture, it's interesting now, and McDavid and Draisaitl, Nurse, Nugent Hopkins defining the culture of the team, but that doesn't permeate to the business side anymore. Whereas before, when organizations were smaller, now they're huge conglomerates, right? You've got like 4 or 5 different teams under some umbrellas. And so each individual team can define its own culture. I think what those guys are doing are defining the culture of the hockey ops side.
Yeah.
The business side is just this own faceless thing that exists and tries to generate as much revenue as possible. But yeah, now we're starting to see these guys put a stamp on this team. And I think that culture that they're creating, instead of having it top down where it comes and has the trickle down effect, I think it's working both ways, where it kind of dictates what happens with the executive and the hockey side of the front office.
Because I think, these are the minor details that I think can take a team from, say one position to being 3 or 4 positions below where it is, right? And I think between Connor and Leon, they've realized just how hard it is to, not just win a cup, but to just get to the final. Like, I still remember, what was it, 2017 in Anaheim? And I think we all saw it. Connor and Leon's on the bench. He's just kind of staring out at the ice, and Connor's kind of right beside him. And then he kind of says, "Hey, come on, like let's get up. We'll be back here."
Yeah.
But that was 6 years ago, and I think they realized just how hard it is to say we'll be back here and to do it. Right?
They did it twice to their credit.
They did. Absolutely, they did. And so I think these are just little tiny steps that they need to make to become that team that, at the end of it, is the last one standing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and McDavid, he's a guy that the last few years there's always something different we see from his game. He's also shooting and scoring goals was a thing. What do you think is left that we can be shown from Connor McDavid?
I don't know, man. I mean, when you think
it's a black
there's
hole,
nothing
dude.
left, he figures something else out, and you go, I've never seen anybody do that ever in the game of hockey. And I don't know what kind of tricks he's been working on, but I'm just prepared to be amazed. I don't know, man. You go to those practices too, and we just sit there like, what did we just see?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen it, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some videos of Bedard, right, in some of these rookie games and stuff like that, and I'm kind of like, okay, I see some glimpses, but I still think McDavid, like, I think of any of the games that I've been to, and everybody knows in the press box you're not cheering, and for the most part that doesn't happen. But there sure is a lot of times that I recall over the past few years where you're sitting beside somebody and they hit you in the arm after he does something.
You're like, what?
And you're like, did you just see that?
Yeah.
You're
Like,
still fans of the game. And
yeah,
when you see something
first and
special, you
foremost.
see something special, and it's just hard not to be like,
Listen,
holy.
yeah, if you've ever been on Blades for any length of time, and to see him doing what he's doing, like, the guy is just, he's in a league of his own, and he's really special. And we lucked out by getting him at the end of the day. and to be able to witness that, I think that's something that people, whether they win or not, that's something that people will talk about. For forever.
I just think it's silly when there are some out there who insinuate that Nathan McKinnon is better. And you're just like, you're out of your mind. And God bless Nathan McKinnon. He's a tremendous player. He's one of the best in the world, top 5, sure. Same with like a Cale Makar, but you're like, no, it's almost at that level where McDavid's at right now, but not quite.
Well, and I think that's what bugs me. I'm with you, Tom. Like it's not a critique of Cale Makar or Nathan McKinnon to say that you're not as good as Connor, and yet everyone takes it as, it's an affront on. Well, no, like it's not. I mean, like some of the people that I work with on I do some international sports stuff, and these people aren't hockey people, and I showed them the goal he scored against the Rangers a couple years ago. These guys' eyes are popping out of their heads. They're like, they can't believe what they're watching. Like, and they don't know the game really at all. And these guys, so I think not. Back to our previous conversation about selling the game internationally. I mean, that's a whole other point, but they appreciate just how magnificent this is, even if they don't know what's going on. Yet we get to watch this all the time. I mean, I remember I have seats kind of back behind where the Oilers shoot twice. It was the home opener a bunch of years ago against the Flames. He picks up the puck at his own faceoff dot, and I'm sitting with my sister, and I'm like, that's going to be a breakaway. I'm like, breakaway between him and I'm like, and he did. Blew right in, roofs it over Mike Smith. I'm like, it's just not fair what he does. And so to what you guys are saying, like what he could do next, I have no idea.
The hole in his game that you're looking at, or where does he think he has a hole in the game? Like, but in his like in summer, when did he sit there and look at the film and go, "There's my hole"? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think it was you or somebody was talking about how just like it's those top players. You just find that 1% that no one else knows.
That was Crusher who was talking about that. Yeah.
And they just find that 1% that they need to improve on, and they go improve on it each day type thing.
Yeah.
It's just that's what I'm intrigued by. Like maybe that's the only thing I'm intrigued by for training camp for the Oilers this year is, okay, every year it seems like we get the tweets from you guys at the rink going, McDavid's on another level, and I'm excited to see what that other level is from McDavid.
And the other level, maybe what we're talking about, the captain skates, getting everybody out.
Yeah.
The stuff that, I mean, you guys have been privileged to be in the room. I've never done that. But I mean, you guys would have a better sense of it than me as to what happens behind, in the room. Is that the level that he's now trying to get to? It's the on-ice stuff is one thing, but how he becomes a leader and takes this team to that level that they all want to get to, is that the
pushes everyone else to that?
But we won't be exposed to that, Doug.
No,
once the doors close, that's when you see
it.
But I think you'll see it reflected on the ice, maybe, right?
Minners, and what Doug's saying, one point last year, I think it was around late February or early March, the team was starting to hum really good. And there was a change in tone in the room. And it wasn't like it was bad in the room before. It was the season didn't start out great. Jack Campbell was struggling. And yes, there was a few tough stretches. The PK was terrible. And then things started to turn, I think, in December. And then they were, back in the mix by January. Then in February, they started to really take off. I know the All-Star break, they stumbled out of the blocks there a little bit. But they hit a point late February, I think, into March, where it was just all business. And you get in that room, there was a good vibe in the room.
Yeah.
Like they would joke with you. Players were hanging around. They wanted to talk to you. And then when you wanted to talk about the game with them outside of the silly little stuff that we chat with them when the mics are off and the cameras are off, it was all business. And everybody's tone and mindset, and you could tell it was sincere. They weren't just going through the team rhetoric. They were all pointed in the same direction. And there was a sincere belief, too. I could tell from the players where they knew they were dialed in, and this was a team that could make some noise and do something. Unfortunately, Golden Knights stopped that. And it was the Oilers to their own detriment that created good on the Golden Knights for exposing some weaknesses in the Oilers game and taking advantage of those. The Oilers did themselves in at times in that second round series, but they legitimately felt like and were on the same page. And that was the outside of 2017 when they had that team that was building the belief.
Yeah.
That belief came in 2017, I think, probably right when they clinched. There was like 8 or 9 games left, something like that. But with like 20 to 25 games left, this team was like locked in.
Still a
and
long
you're like,
way.
oh, okay, this is what a true championship caliber team looks, sounds, and acts like.
And I think for the first time in a long time with this team, the imbalance isn't there, right?
Right.
It isn't these young stars with these huge expectations and these veteran players who they're trying to lead, but it's tough to lead by example because you know you're not maybe producing when the expectation is on the young guys to produce, right? I think of like when Everly and Halsey and those guys were around, and a young Nuge was around. But now you've got this, I think, leadership group that is a little more mature, and they are certainly leading by example. I mean, you know, amazingly. And then I think everybody else kind of falls in line, right? And the expectations are realistic for each player. Whereas before, if that makes any sense, before it just seemed like there's an imbalance, right? And so,
yeah, there'd be guys that'd be like, you talk to them off camera, and they'd be like, I don't know why so and so is up there. Have you seen my performance lately? And you'd be like, why are you telling me this? You know,
exactly.
like I can't go and tell them.
Or I'll take that message for you.
Yeah.
Or the stories you hear years after, right? Like, you know, a player would come in and say, like, "Hey, I'm doing everything I can. I need you guys to kind of pull your weight." And things like that. Like, do you think that builds to like team building and cohesion within a room? There's no way, right?
Dusty tells us that every day. He comes in, he's like, "Oh, look at what I'm doing. What are you guys doing?"
Hey guys, meet me up here.
Demoralizing.
Yeah,
I cry every night.
and you know, we talk about like this team taking next step. I think the guys behind the bench, right? I think, you know, Jay and Dave, I think we're going to see them learn from what they've gone through the last couple of years, right? Whether they were outcoached maybe by even just a little bit or a fraction, learning from that and kind of you know, growing as leaders, as coaches.
Jay Woodcroft is not an experienced NHL coach. Nope. He's an experienced coach. He's an experienced assistant coach in the NHL. He's done it in the American Hockey League, but this is only going to be a second full year as the head coach of a National Hockey League team.
Hard to believe.
And so there's a development that comes to him too, and how much of his development, which never really gets talked about probably, he's going to help this team moving forward, is that he's learned from his errors and mistakes from the past 18 months or whatever it was as head coach.
I really like Jay. I've known him for a long time. I'm very happy to see him as a head coach, and I'm glad he's had success, and the city's been able to enjoy it, the fans that are starving for success. But dial back the needling back thing like we saw in the playoffs. That's one thing. It's like, come on, Jay. He turned into a jerk in the playoffs.
To the media and stuff?
Yeah. You don't need to be. You're on the biggest stage here. Embrace it. And he did. He was great. Maybe he got burnt by someone. I don't know. But it became...
That could be a rallying cry maybe he's trying to do in the room. It's the world's against us, and I'm showing and that is his way of doing it.
Nobody's against them. They're everybody's second favorite team if they're not already your first favorite team. That is the Edmonton Oilers somehow, you know? And a lot of it has to do with what happened in the 80s. And
Michael Jordan's made up enemies, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's Jay Woodcroft just making up the enemy just to try to galvanize his team or something. I don't know.
People coming in, international media, and I know people will just be like, who cares about the media? I get that. I understand. We're there. You're trying to be professional and work with these coaches and players and management types. But like, guys are coming in from New York, all over the league, the biggest names in hockey media, and they're like, what's up with this guy? Everything I saw before, he was like well-spoken, thoughtful, gave you a good answer. Now he's shutting you down, throwing it back in your face. Like, not giving us anything. And I'm like, Jay's way smarter than that. He's a good dude. And I'm like, where's this evil Jay from? Where, you know,
that vibe.
Is that a vibe? I didn't get that vibe. Oh, every day, man, we're like, which chair are we getting? And then in the playoffs,
I wasn't down there.
It got progressively worse and worse to the point where it's like we can't use any of this stuff.
Have you seen that like over the years? Have you seen that with other coaches where they like that sort of evolves in their in how they, or does it often go the other way where they often get more comfortable with the media?
No, Jay's. You know what? Jay's very sharp, and he's very comfortable. He knows
his
what
answers,
he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Like it's a choice to go
do
that route, and I think, and that's why I think maybe something happened where he was too trusting of someone or a few people, and he said something, and it came back to haunt him or something like that. That might be the case. I don't know for sure, but there's a stark contrast to Jay coming in, to Jay in the playoffs. But I think from tomorrow or whenever we get a chance to talk to him, he'll probably go back to being the Jay that gives you something and is good to deal with. But it was That was just one thing that was noticed and pointed out by many of our peers and colleagues that came in from other cities in the NHL.
What's minimum expectation for this team this year? What's the lowest bar of success?
Undefeated in the preseason.
Don't care about anything else this season.
Yeah.
Just don't fall to
Come on,
Ravens.
man.
Undefeated in preseason. Season success.
Win. Yeah. Yes.
Unsuccessful.
Conference final, Stanley Cup final, somewhere.
Yeah. Conference.
You have to be there.
Conference final for sure, but we've been to the conference final. The last two teams we've lost to, they've brought home the cup, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, you got to win a couple games in the conference final, at least one.
Yes.
A couple years ago, but I think getting there is the minimum.
injuries in that one.
So getting back to conference final, that's bare minimum.
Yeah.
It was a good season for the Oilers.
I mean, the cup or bust thing is, I think it's a great mentality for them to have internally. I think the reality, you just never know. I mean, the team has been largely healthy the last many years too. Like we Draisaitl, the injury in the playoffs a couple years ago, it's obviously affected things, but Nurse too. But on the whole, or certainly in the regular season, for the most part, they've been fairly healthy. Now, you just never know what happens. So the whole cup or bust thing is, I think, again, good rallying cry, but I'm with you guys. I think you got to exceed where you've been the last couple of years, and that's at least a conference final, if not a Stanley Cup final.
See, and that's what I'll go. I'll go a little further and go. Winning a cup's hard. So getting to that, but I think finally having that Stanley Cup final appearance,
that's fair.
I think is necessary for this team.
And they're good enough to do it. I mean, that's the thing. They're good enough to be there. Like, that's to me not the question.
I think on the front part of the team, you know what you're getting. It's the back end that's kind of the we I think are 85% sure of what we're kind of getting in goaltending and defense, and if we can show that we can take a step with our goaltending tandem or Jack or whatever happens back there, and maybe the improvement of some defensemen and some consistency back there, I think that'll go a long way in telling us whether or not we have a chance at that conference final and beyond, right? So I think that's what a lot of fans are going to be watching, right? I think a lot of people want to see which version of Jack Campbell we get, whether he takes the net, whether Stewart's back in the net. I think that's the big question mark for me right now, heading into this season and preseason, right, in the camp and everything.
Well, with that defensive thing, like Tom was doing on the Oil stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, right here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, his rankings of importance for the Edmonton Oilers, and naturally McDavid and Draisaitl 1, 2. Well, yesterday unveiled number 3 being Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah.
And what is having him for a full season do to the Edmonton Oilers this year, with not even just goaltending, but even Darnell Nurse? Does him being with this team full time 82 games just help everyone else blue line back to his team that next step?
Well, look what it did in half a season with Bush, right? Like that's what half a season did. I can't even imagine what a full season.
Not even a half season. I think it was
20 games.
20 games.
Yeah, led the team in plus minus. It was ridiculous.
And this is a guy who stayed here in the off season. His family's here. He had a kid here.
Yeah.
I heard people saying, I saw him at the grocery store. Yeah, he talked to me about this, that, and the other. He's great. Like he's all in, right? He sees what is the potential here. So that's great. Right?
He's very engaging.
Yeah,
he seems like it. Yeah,
he's a thinker for sure.
And he just slots everyone in a much better spot. I mean, you're not forcing guys into. This is not the best comparison, but I always think back to when the Oilers acquired Peter Nedved a bunch of years ago.
And
the first time, not the second time.
Yeah.
And suddenly, everyone, you can sort of look through the line. This makes sense. You're where you need to be. Like it just worked. And Ekholm, I think, does a little bit of that here too. Like, all respect to Tyson Barrie, but you probably don't in the long run need Barrie and Bouchard. So you balance that off. Now you have way more options in terms of how you can deploy this 6-man defensive unit than you had in the past. Because you don't have to have Nurse taking all the heavy minutes. You can mix that up a little. So we'll see how it plays out over 82.
We're talking about a first round pick from 4 years ago who's barely cracking this line. Like that's how deep they are. And like you said, guys falling into place because now they're not being thrust in there even when they're not ripened.
Yeah.
And then who knows what those two have done as far as hanging out in the off season and same language, same everything, right?
And I know Broberg didn't really know Ekholm from before I asked about that.
Right.
Now that could be completely different with all this time in between.
100%. And kudos to Kenny for pulling the trigger on that. And Barry was a hugely popular player.
Vibe Daddy.
Part of this core, right? And,
Vibe Daddy?
He was called Vibe Daddy.
Vibe Daddy?
Yeah.
Was he the music guy or something? Or just set the tone for
set the
partying?
tone. He was everybody's favorite guy, glue guy.
He liked to have fun.
Great guy
There's
to
no doubt
talk
about
to
it.
for sure.
Well, that's it, right? And that speaks to the chemistry. But I think these guys, mentality-wise, the leadership group is at a point where they know that you're gonna have to make those tough calls, and it may be your best buddy on the team that's gonna have to get shipped out to bring somebody back in. And fortunately, Ekholm, I think, slid right in and fit like a glove.
Yeah.
Which thankfully has been the case, right? Because it doesn't always work out that way.
We got a text that came in via the text line 780-218-9999. Out of Montreal, this text comes to us.
Oh, wow.
Bonjour. This one says, I keep hearing that Connor Brown is a defensive wizard as a winger, something Edmonton media seems to be sleeping on. Do you guys have an opinion on this? Sounds like it could be just what they need in the top six. Doug, Thinners, what do you guys think?
I mean, you hear that he's very responsible. I mean, now is he a wizard? I don't know what defines a defensive wizard in the top six. I don't know that they need a defensive wizard in the top six.
I would say they need it anyway. Just how poorly the defensive zone was, especially the first half. But
I think a guy that's, let's just call him responsible. Does that help balance out things in that top six a little bit? So if he is a wizard, as our friend in Montreal is telling us, then hey, that's great.
Well said.
Yeah, very nice. Roll that.
It's all the French immersion years, and
I because he's been injured. I don't even remember the last time I saw him play.
That's right? Me exactly. So,
and I mean, I think whether he's a defensive wizard or not, if that is the case, I mean, if that's a part of his game, we'll likely see that. But I think the dynamic changes when you get partnered up with 97 and 29, and you play up front there. So. I'd have to go back to some of the old tape when he played junior with Connor to see. I mean, I've seen some of the goals he scored. With Connor, and they look pretty sweet. And he looked like he knew what spot he had to be in. I think you could be in any spot and just make sure your stick's on the ice, and Connor will get it to you. But they seem to have that chemistry there, and I think that's what this is all about, right? Seeing if they can rekindle that and rekindle it at this level. And if his health is okay and he's all in, like his head's in it, I think we may see both aspects of that game come up.
Yeah, and if in the defensive zone, because there was a time when he was in Toronto, you'd be like, oh, Connor Brown, very responsible, and he'd score a shorthanded goal on a rush on a Saturday night. You're like, that was pretty good. He's a pretty good player. And then he went to Ottawa on a bad Ottawa team, and he was one of the lone bright spots. And then his time ran out there. He goes to Washington last year. There are rumors he might come to Edmonton in the offseason last year. It didn't happen. So he goes, Caps, blows out his knee. That's too bad. So nobody really got to taste of Connor Brown as a Cap. Right. But if, like our listener from Montreal is indicating, him being a defensive wizard, if that means he gets a stick on a pass in the defensive zone that wasn't there before and gets it out of harm's way, if his body gets in front of a shot more times than not, this is the simplest, and I always go back to this. If he gets an outlet pass off the wall and doesn't fumble and bumble it, or if there's pressure on him, he's one of those guys that, 7 to 10 times out of 10 is able to chip it out and make the other team regroup.
Yeah.
That, to me, is a defensive wizard. It sounds so simplistic, but there's so many times, and this is a kudos to team strategies and defensemen in the NHL being so cerebral that they can keep the pressure, keep the puck in, and they can force those turnovers by the wingers. And it's happened to the Oilers, and Zach Kassian had a whale of a time getting pucks out. He was terrible at it. There's been Puljujärvi was a mess. Yamamoto was a mess. But if Connor Brown is a guy that is reliable in getting that puck out of his zone when it comes to him, or breaking up a play,
getting it to who we need, to get to.
I'll put that Wizards cap on him with defense on the top of it,
for sure.
and glitter. Yeah.
You good with that stuff? You're creative, crafty?
No, I'm just trying to are you able to create an image here in people's minds as they listen?
Sunday afternoons at Michael's.
Yes,
Trust me,
you're
yeah.
out of gold
Yeah.
glitter.
I'm a
Yes,
husband of
in
a
the back.
teacher. I
Yeah.
know exactly where everything is in
Yeah.
Michael's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Great jersey frames there, shadow boxes. Yeah.
Sports memorabilia
Yeah.
stuff there,
Yeah,
actually.
I get lost in that place. Like I can't. I'm
Oh,
trying to
man.
find like
Yeah.
simple things. I have no clue where I'm going.
Exactly.
You can get a football
I've got a
case,
football
mini foot
case, yeah.
helmet.
Oh, they have those. I've seen the
Yeah.
jersey box. I haven't seen those.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
in
can
the
get
back.
a lot
In
of
the
like
back.
baseball
Okay.
little boxes. I don't
Yeah,
think many golf stuff.
Sure.
For like
but
just small things, but
for
like
jerseys,
Okay,
if you
yeah.
I don't need golf stuff because Golf Town's right beside them.
stay
So,
there.
yeah.
Does
I'm
Golf
talking
Town sell a lot of
South
those?
Common. Which
Like,
the frames
Like
and stuff?
memorabilia
Yeah.
cases and stuff like that.
They
You
might.
get that.
I don't know. Maybe in
Michael,
where the
definitely.
keys and the head covers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I'm assuming
Okay. Well, that's
they have all like.
It's actually you wouldn't think about that, Bob Michaels, but it's actually pretty good for sports memorabilia stuff.
But if you need
Like
a
this,
Wizards
seen
cap
some
with
not actual
glitter,
buying
Michael's.
sports memorabilia.
Yeah.
And then that's where you're going to build a hat for.
Wow.
That's right.
We said glitter and we went to Michael's. So
Well, where
They
else are you
got
going
it
to go?
all, man.
You're going to pick this up.
Yeah, exactly.
Sponsor us,
Oh.
Michaels. Title sponsor still open for the EST.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll build a whole bunch of things with your stuff.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't like these conversations. Just it's early, but what is the top six for the Oilers opening day at this moment in your guys' eyes? Is Connor Brown with McDavid? Is McDavid and Draisaitl together? Like how are you looking at the top six forwards for the Edmonton Oilers? October 11th when they're in Vancouver.
I don't think we need to overthink this one.
No.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think you split the two guys up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Connor and Leon are at a point where they drive their own lines. Like
They win a cup when those two do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they don't without it, but I mean, I think they're in a better spot if that's the reality.
And
So
I think
who's on
Connor
the
came.
wings?
I think Connor came here to see how he's going to do with Connor. So you got to start him there, right?
Yeah, but you didn't
So-
pay him that much money.
Here, we'll just
So
go
you can do
through this.
whatever you want.
McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Kane, Hyman, and now Brown.
Okay, but where you
Mix
put
them
spot
up.
you mix them up. It doesn't matter.
Jay Woodcroft is going to mix them up 7 minutes into game one.
Yeah.
They're going to go 11-7 at some point. It doesn't matter.
You think they go revert to 11-7?
At some point, it'll probably happen. Like, it got to the point last year in the regular season where for years and years and years, and men, you did this too when you'd be at the rink. All right, what are the lines today? And, we would talk, that'd be a storyline, and rightly
Get
so.
tweeted out.
And that, I think it's like that.
those tweets.
Yeah, and I think it's like that for probably 31 other markets. But it got to the point, I think, again, around March, where it's like, what are the lines? And then people would just roll their eyes. Here's what they had. Don't
But
put
that's
much
not-
into it.
Yeah, that's not
Well,
what
playoff time, they really Jay Woodcroft
Yeah,
really
and it
messed
was-
with people. He put out there was a few times I remember reading it on air, would say the lines, and then
It's like,
game
it
time
doesn't
came. You're
matter.
like, this wasn't at
It
all
wasn't
what we were
close.
saying.
And that started
Or
in the
being
regular
told.
season.
Yeah.
This started in the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah. Like, because I have a portfolio right on my notepad. I put the
Is it
date.
from Michaels or is it from somewhere else?
No, I think I got it on Amazon. Look, I'm sure.
I was just
You know, you can get a portfolio at Michael's for a reasonable price.
true. Yes.
Right? That's how versatile that store is. But like I would go, all right, what do we, I saw this, and then I'd go to like Cam and I'd be like, is this what he's like, yeah, but so-and-so was up there for a few rotations. I'm like, yeah. And then I saw so-and-so on this line. He goes, yeah, it'll change by face off. And you go to someone else, Reed Walker, same thing. You go to Jack Weichel, same thing. Go to Gene. There's like 7 different incarnations of these lines
Right.
within a 5-minute window. And you're like,
Jay Woodcroft's
why?
line should have been sponsored by the Costco Ninja Blender. They could have
On sale now.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're chilling for a bunch of products right now.
Hey, I worked for Costco. They do not do a lot of like advertising.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
They
don't
don't
need
have
it.
That's how
I
good
don't
they
think
are.
they need
They don't
to.
have to.
That's how good they are, Costco.
Actually, do they do any advertising?
Not really.
I don't know if I've ever seen
Remember.
an ad
No,
for
I don't
Costco
have
in my
either.
life.
Because they don't need to.
No, I know, but now
Everyone knows.
Now I'm still trying to really think if they've like. I want to go find a Costco ad if there is one now.
No, they do cross promotion. It's like MasterCard and stuff. But
Yeah, like the car dealership show your
Yeah.
Costco
Yeah.
membership
there's
card, and you get
no
like $1,000 off
sponsoring,
a
no
car or
ads.
something like that.
Yeah.
Do like
And
Costco.
the hot dog pop combo will never go up in price.
Well, that's what
That comes
that's
right
what
from
gets
the
you in.
tippy top. Yeah.
That's what brings you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add in the chicken. $7.99 chicken.
Chicken is $79.99 anymore.
Did they raise that a little bit?
It's gone up in price.
How dare they?
And they have a different kind of have you seen the chicken that is just the pieces in a bag?
No.
Yeah. It's all cut up for you.
Oh, so they've made it even easier for you.
So yeah.
So not only did they cook the chicken for you, and you can buy a cooked chicken.
If you're in
now they've cooked it all up for you, so you don't have to even. When if you just feed you the chicken?
I won't lie to you.
If you're all thumbs with the sharp instruments in the kitchen, like your problems have been solved. Now the chicken's in a bag in pieces.
That's perfect because someone like me who looks at a rotisserie chicken in that plastic little bubble, it's very intimidating. Like, how do I start with this? What do I do?
Honestly,
the string messes everybody up, I think.
Yeah,
YouTube has stuff. There's some great videos on how to
chicken now.
Cut off the.
You open it up, it's ready to serve.
Cut off the drumsticks, take off the wings.
You lost me.
You take out the chicken breasts and stuff.
Lost me.
And then the thighs are in there. But it's actually very simple once you do it, and then use the rest of it for stock.
There's actually videos, I think, on Insta or Twitter now of how to properly cut a chicken, whole chicken, right? Like this,
great.
There's a process. There's a process to it.
It's an art.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
the legs,
unwilling.
the wings, split it down the middle.
Finding the right spot to crack it.
Taking out the excess stuff in the middle, and then
one of the keys breasts before you cook the chicken, if you're going to cook a whole chicken, is take out the wishbone. It makes it easier later to cut it all out and stuff.
Oh, yeah. You learn something new on EST Hangout every day.
Big cooker, Tommy?
No.
Are you guys cookers?
I love rotisserie chicken. Throw that on the barbecue. It's fun. Yeah.
Beer can chicken?
I've never actually I've eaten it. I've never made it though.
I think I've tried it
full
a
on
couple of times.
rotisserie.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Just shove it in there.
Yeah.
Let the legs.
How much beer's in that can? Like half or
3/4?
Okay.
Half or 3/4.
And the point is just so that it stays moist.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
And flavors it a little bit probably too, but
it's fantastic.
I love the recipes off of Instagram. I think it's like they're foolproof. And whether you are a reader or you learn by watching video, it's so easy to make.
It's like those tasty videos. BuzzFeed or whatever.
Tasty
where they really break it down for you, and
I
need that. Screw this up.
I made this beef burrito on the weekend. It was literally 20 minutes. 2 tortillas. You put a little cheese in the middle. You put the rice down, and you put the beef in there. And they made the rice with cilantro, and you squeeze lime in it.
Ooh,
like it's next level. It is next level. You throw a little sriracha in there. Throw a little bit of sour cream if you want. Wrap it up. Put it on the pan. Grill it. Flip it. Grill it. Cut it in half. When 2 teenagers will eat that in two consecutive days, you've done it.
You've done well.
But you have passion and ability when it comes to cuisine, because you would make stuff and you put it on your Instagram, and I would just be like, "Oh my god!"
On the grill, or I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it's just
you just have a knack.
My grandma, and my mom, they're good cooks. So my grandma made pizza for years and at home.
Yeah,
and so I think you just kind of learn through osmosis, right?
Or you're unwilling and just go across the street and buy something that you can heat up.
Or you left home early, and if you didn't know how to cook, then you were going to either go hungry or go broke by eating at Dairy Queen all the time.
How to cook like the ladies? You don't cook at all?
No, I don't. I just take them out for dinner.
We're going here.
Choice. Okay.
We're going here.
Yeah.
You should try this.
Yeah.
You'll have those days are over, Tommy. Come on.
Oh boy.
I am not creative enough with different recipe ideas. Like I'm very bland. But that's where the online is great. Do this, add this. It's like, okay, I can do that stuff. But I can't
cut the workout for yourself. Don't try to be original. Like just look at.
But even just think like what I would eat. Like I could have chicken and rice almost every day, but change it up with something. I know, but spice it up and stuff.
But the more you do that, the more you get comfortable with. Oh, I've done this. You can just mix, and then you get comfortable just mixing stuff in, and you just end up with all kinds of super stuff.
Mrs. D will kill me for saying this, but the easiest butter chicken ever is like when you go to Costco and they have the 2 jars of butter chicken sauce.
Yeah.
Like the work is done. It's all done for you right there.
Yeah.
Get some yogurt, get some chicken breasts, mix it all up, throw in a couple of more spices. If you want to add a little more onion and garlic in, do it. And then, set it and forget it. And
but it's like, dude, I love butter chicken.
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. Like spaghetti sauce, Italian.
Sure.
Homemade.
Right.
Yeah, you should get that every Sunday.
But that you can't get that from a jar.
No, you can't get that from a jar.
No.
I agree.
So there are some you can't. Well, you can, but it's not like it's honestly not the same.
Yeah, but if
I want that
you don't have the
homemade,
time, if you don't have the time,
where you make enough and you freeze it. That's the key.
Yeah, that's true.
You make a big batch, you freeze it, and then you're good to go. You have your own. But no, like There are some things that you can't go easy.
That
You have to.
village,
You
right?
have
Like
to.
the sauce.
I tried
No.
making my own. I tried following a few recipes. I pooched it. So I just get veggies. I'll make you some sauce, Tommy.
But don't
That's
you?
the key. As long as that's happening, then
Yeah,
you're good.
Doesn't
like,
the sauce in an Italian household on a Sunday cook for like 4 hours,
Yeah,
slow and
simmer.
low, and
Honestly,
Yeah.
simmering
when I
all
come
the time?
home and my mom's was making, or like if I go over to my parents' place and it's that Sunday or whatever, my mom's making the sauce. Oh, it's the best. Smells
Are you?
great.
What are you? Full Italian or are you like
half
half
Italian,
Ukrainian?
half Ukrainian.
Oh God,
That's a
That's
perfect
like-
combination
It's
of
incredible.
cuisine.
You can't ask for better food growing up.
I will
how
say
are you not like a
That's
bigger
what everyone asks.
Yeah.
That's what everyone asks.
like
He's a distance
Ukrainian
runner.
Italian? Like
Yeah.
if you had Nancy's East Indian in there, like wow, you trifecta.
Yeah.
Oh, my cousin married a
Flavor
Ukrainian,
Town.
and the wedding reception was half Ukrainian, half East Indian.
Oh wow.
It was like my mind exploded, man. And my cousin's wife, her baba or one of her old uncles was there, like this old Ukrainian farmer, like he had these like banana hands, and he has this plate that looks like it was dwarfed in his hands, and he just had all of the desserts, like these East Indian desserts. And I was like, that man is gonna finish that, no problem. Like he's gonna demolish it. But
There's no sharing at the table for that one.
there's pierogies at that reception. It was crazy. Butter chicken pierogies. Like
What?
the menu was
Well,
nuts.
that's mind blowing, and I want
That was a
That
first for
seems
me.
like a great
That is a
combination.
great
actually.
combination.
It was all star. There's no doubt about it.
I will say one thing. My mom's from Poland, so I'm very similar to Matthew, but Polish and Italian. Dad's Italian, mom's Polish. Polish cabbage rolls are way better than Ukrainian cabbage rolls.
What's
There's
different?
meat and vinegar, and then they have this like tomato sauce that you can pour over them to die for.
Oh wow, that sounds.
But Ukrainian food's succulent and delicious.
Polish food's great.
Man.
Polish that's pretty good. Oh.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that my babunia will make, and I'm just like,
Babunia, I love it.
what?
What do you have that like is weird? Because I feel like Polish food and Ukrainian food
kapusta.
tastes bitch.
That's terrible. It's
Oh,
it
it's good, but that's
smells
like Czechs and
bad.
Slovaks. That's
Yeah,
Ukrainian.
oh, and
Yeah.
like
But it's
my
cabbage. It's a cabbage roll for
it's
me.
Yeah.
I don't like it. No,
Oh.
thank you. And there's some other stuff in there
Yeah,
that my grandma eats, and like my mom and aunt will have for Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm like,
Head cheese.
no, thank God, no.
That's
But
something
there's
that's at
that's just a bad
Easter.
name.
Like,
That's just a
there's
bad
there's
name.
some Italian
Easter
stuff
is
too. I'm just
something
like,
else.
no, thank. Like bacala, gross.
You don't like
Panettone.
bacala?
No, it's terrible.
What's bacala?
It's like fish. It's gross.
Oh yeah.
Oh, bacala's great. We just had that
No.
this Christmas. We made some of that. Bacala's fantastic.
No, thanks.
There's an
You can
East
have
Indian
it.
dish that's made with like ladyfingers or okra that I used to.
Okra is great.
Yeah, I used to hate it. Or eggplant. I used to hate it. And as a kid, but now as an adult, like, oh yeah, eggplant or okra, like, yeah, serve it up.
My palate. I used to be the peckiest eater. Hated everything. Now I love almost everything. It's great. And yeah, eggplant. Great
Eggplant
dish.
parmesan.
Yeah.
Well, it's super
What is it?
versatile. You can do all
What's
kinds
the-
of stuff with
Yeah.
eggplant. Oh, yeah.
What's the Arabic dish? Moussaka?
Yeah.
I think that's
It's
predominantly
like-
eggplant and a bunch of
thins.
zucchini
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
There's no meat in that either. It's
No, I think you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Big Uke texts in 780-218-9999 if you want to get in on this.
Are they sending recipes in?
Well,
They're ready for lunch.
Yeah, well, it's we're creeping towards 11 here. So Big Uke says, "I love how the hangout goes from Connor Brown defensive wizard to the craft supplies to make the wizard hat to Michael's to Costco to chicken to cooking. Never know what you're gonna get. Love it.
Yeah.
Head cheese with some mustard or hot mustard, by the way, so damn good. Says Big
If you
Uke.
want to have it, throw the vinegar on it too.
Oh,
Mike,
okay.
That's a good way.
Like
to do it.
malt vinegar, like a
Just white vinegar I've had, and it's just it makes it palatable.
okay.
my
Eat it.
into cooking, I'll tell you this. I've had this fascination with grilling.
Oh yeah.
But my parents' place, my dad, that's his grill. He does everything. So like he gets offended if I'm like, Dad, I want my steak a little bit more rare. Take it off about a minute or two before yours, please. No, same. You like them. You've eaten them for so many years. I'm like, yeah, but then I got older and I started to have like really high end steaks at other places, and I like it a little bit more rare. And he just, and then even to this day, about 15 years ago, I started saying, just take mine off a little bit, just a kiss less. And he'll be like, this is ready to I gotta go back outside into the grill. Like he's just so offended by that. But I want the grill like that. I want a smoker.
you can,
I want to be grilling. I moved into the same building downtown that Maddie's in, and we have this amenities area. Like I should just get a barbecue for my patio or balcony, but we have this communal one that they just installed, and I feel like if I start using them and take it over.
Go for it.
What's the barbecue place in town? That Barbecue Town?
There's smoke right by a building just outside of Ice District.
You guys need to get sponsored by a barbecue
and
place.
they play Barbecue Country.
Barbecue Country, that's it.
So
if you're listening,
if they want to give us a barbecue, I'll go stand outside and barbecue for this new
Tom,
building.
you should have a T-shirt.
Between them and Acme Meats, they could give us the meat, and somebody gives us the barbecue, and I'll barbecue. We'll make all the tenants in this building.
Get a hibachi right on this table. Do it right in front of everybody.
Hey,
while you're doing the hangout.
Afternoon Oilers games at home, barbecue at my place after.
That's it. ABG, always be grilling.
And the nasty
Tommy
chat
G.
on YouTube. Actually, the food is getting people going a little bit. Because I'm Ukrainian, I don't eat until I'm full. I eat until I hate myself. Darren saying butter chicken sauce on pierogies is amazing. And as we're saying the two things, that's where my mind was going. Like throwing some butter chicken sauce on pierogi would actually
when they end up on the same plate, they get mixed up anyway.
I know, so good.
And I mean, butter is the key. I think in Ukrainian and any kind of cuisine, man. Like, that's what makes it all
especially
good.
Especially if I have a potato one, like, and would absorb that.
I'm gonna have to share. I'm gonna have to share a couple of recipes with you guys because, both my kids, our kids play soccer, and so the day ends at 6, and then the other part of the day starts at 6:01. So you need to make something fast, and it's got to last for a couple of days. And there's this one. This is the kind of tangent that can happen. So, my wife and my daughter, they follow this lady out in BC, Harp So Hall, Pink Orchid Studios. It's all about makeup and all that stuff, right? And so she kind of dabbles in cooking, and so she posted this one video called One Pot Chicken, and literally within 20 minutes, from start to finish, you have this one pot that you use to make this chicken pasta dish. It is phenomenal. If you like cream sauce, phenomenal, man. You can use like half milk, half and half cream. You start it with a little garlic, a little onion. You throw the chicken in, and then you put the penne right into the same pot. You throw a little spinach leaves in there, a little diced tomatoes, and then you throw the cream sauce in, and it all cooks. And then you add in some Parmesan Reggiano.
Parmesan.
Yeah, Parmesano. It is so good, man. And it literally takes 20 minutes.
I think what we need is like the Edmonton Sports Talk cooking show.
Might be next,
different people and we cook.
It's a pregame meal. What's your pregame meal going to be? You guys should have one every before every game. What's the pregame meal?
Lance texts in and says, "My parents eat their steaks well done. I didn't know there were other ways to cook steaks till I was 15. Now I am a medium rare man." Lance, that sounds eerily reminiscent to. Although my parents don't do it well done. My dad thought it was medium for the longest time, and I would be like,
medium rare.
I'd be like, Dad, this is like well. No, it's like, no.
Someone who's always been used to eating it a certain way, and then you recommend to them like try a medium rare, see what you think, and then they have it, and then their eyes light up. Right?
There's a little hand technique you can sort of like if that's. Like
the tenderness.
You're
totally right.
That's
absolutely true. I've seen people do that. You have calloused hands, then it's like.
My dad is a well done guy. Like he's well done and then cook it a little more. Like he wants it completely burnt. And that's how I grew up on steak. And I could still eat it that way.
Does I don't like Brock Lesnar's or something or what? Like that's a lot of chewing, dude.
Once I got older and tried different things, I could eat steak no matter what. Give me a blue rare steak, I will eat it and I will enjoy it. Give me a well done steak, I still will.
You might be on an island.
Medium rare generally. But
blue, you like blue?
I can eat a blue. Oh, it's delicious.
I do. It wouldn't be my choice.
I don't know if people are doing that.
Rusty Shackleford chimes in again, says, "Boys, I have wanted to try donair pierogies. I didn't know that was a thing."
That would taste good too.
This summer, I was in China over the summer in Sichuan province, and so trying all kinds of interesting, like hot pot's a big thing in the city we were in.
Very cool.
And it's like just such unique, interesting, crazy stuff to try all over the place.
Yeah, the street food there would be next level.
Yeah, I didn't actually, just with work stuff, I wasn't able to do that as much. My colleagues were a little bit. They found a few spots. I found a few dumpling places, which I didn't pop into, which were phenomenal. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Lots of stuff to try.
One more text.
Go for it.
Okay, the food conversation. It's
We've got the food on hand. We've got a lot of music. We have got
Getting text like, we need to take the dip to win the cup. Goaltending. Broberg must be the top 4 defender. Pairing with Ekholm seems logical. I'm like, okay.
Yes, those are all conversations that we're gonna have ad nauseum in the next 2 weeks. Okay, I'm gonna read this one, then we can get this one.
What underground pub is Victor Cui in? Nice. Wow.
I love it.
Sports fans in this town.
The best. Barbecue pierogies are my treat, this texter says. That's interesting. Put them on the top rack on low heat. They puff right up and kind of get crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. I usually glaze them with sauce first and then dip them while eating. They're a great snack.
Yeah,
That's an interesting.
I make them with Mundair sausage, like a whole thing of butter, and as many onions as you can. Yeah, and some bacon in there.
So good.
We're almost done with the hangout here. Doug, where can people find your stuff? What's on tap for you coming up next?
Coming up doing, I'm in Calgary this weekend doing the Saskatchewan Huskies Calgary Dinos. So I got more Canada West football the next little bit, and then basketball gets going in November, and so it'll be
you and Majot.
And Canada's going to Nationals this year in March, so that'll be a good gear up to that in early March. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Great hat, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
The
Trappers throwback. That's probably Ross Flat special.
It is, yeah. Grew up watching the Trappers, so I figured I had to have this hat.
Great choice.
So yeah,
that's cool.
You're not on today.
Not on today, but back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and
CBC Radio
3 to 6. Yeah,
active.
CBC Radio, 7:40 a.m. 93.9 FM, and Jessica Ng and myself. And I'm there with traffic, weather, community, sports, all sorts of different stories.
Man, you're a jack of all trades.
Just using a different part of the brain here this past year. After lifelong time in front of the TV cameras. So yeah, it's been
versatility.
Fun. Radio's fun.
It's huge.
Radio's fun. Yeah.
I
mean, you just never know, right? With the guests, we have a combination of live guests in studio, sometimes over the phone, but there's a lot of stuff happening in Edmonton, right? And so we like to think we get a little bit of mix of everything.
Well, gents, thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it, and hopefully maybe we can have you guys on again another.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
He's Doug McLean, Dhariwal, Congressman Matawanik. This was the EST Hangout. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop with Dustin Nielsen and Hustler. And then coming up at noon, it's 2 guys and a goalie. Nielsen, Gage, Cassian. That's all here on Edmonton Sports Talk. This is EdmontonSportsTalk.com, as well as live on our YouTube channel.
The Lock Shop.
This might be actually my favorite